I think I finally found the silver bullet.
Oh, yeah? What are we doing, hunting werewolves?
Nope. A silver bullet to help you feel better and make more money.
Sounds like some TikTok video stuff.
5-step TikToks. No, man. Today, we're going to talk about how emotions require a significant amount of your thinking energy. Something we don't think about. I wonder how much...
We think about thinking about how much energy it takes to think.
Yes. I wonder how much capacity I'm using right now because I'm so angry. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about emotions, thinking, focus, and then as we develop our emotions over, from birth all the way to adult, here's the silver bullet, if we can control our emotions, that's called high emotional intelligence.
And if that has a positive outcome.
Yes.
Which
studies suggest.
It just may.
It just may.
Sweet. Let's get it rolling.
Let's roll.
I'm Jonathan Noel.
I'm Brian Noel.
This is the Focus Cast,
where we reduce distractions,
increase focus,
so you can live a life with intention.
You and I, and
yes,
you,
and we,
and me. All right, so today we're talking about emotions, thinking energy, focus.
Yeah, how much energy does it take to focus?
A lot, because after 2 episodes yesterday, I felt like I had to yawn 35 times.
Well, the first question we should ask is, what is thinking energy?
Thinking energy refers to the mental resources or cognitive capacity required to engage in various cognitive processes, such as attention, perception, memory, problem solving, decision making, and reasoning.
Man.
Basically everything.
Everything.
Everything besides sitting there and meditating.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty obvious definition. But it's something I don't think we think about, which is, the way our brain is designed is it's kind of like a computer, right?
Right.
You have storage, you got a hard drive, and you have RAM.
You got RAM.
So, there's the default network where we breathe.
Right.
You can drive and
AKA
turn the steering wheel.
Background processes.
Yes, background processes. But the reason you can't text and drive, or your likelihood of having an accident goes up so high, is because you can't put two things in the front of your brain: drive and text.
You can't watch the road with one eye and text with the other.
Yes.
Like we're not that advanced.
Another example of this is, you can read an email, think about how you're going to respond to that email. For some of you, you sit for 30 minutes, write 4 paragraphs, then delete it all and rewrite it about 3 times.
This is me trying to write the captions for any of our posts.
Yes.
I'm like, bro, what am I going to say?
Yes. But we can't answer 5 emails at the same time.
Right.
Right.
You can't process 5 different people with 5 different questions and 5 emails.
Yeah.
And it's not possible.
You can't do it. So there's parts of our brain that are processing or thinking, right? When we're doing a task, when we're doing something strategic. And as we talk about today, this is another really interesting part about the brain that I learned in therapy. And that's that we have the emotional side and the thinking side. Mm-hmm. But then there's a piece of the brain that articulates and interprets the emotions to the thinking brain. Hey, I feel angry. Hey, I feel sad. Hey, I feel great, right? Mm-hmm. So there's all these things going on. So today we're going to talk about trying to understand and really think about how much of our focus is dedicated towards what we want to focus on, our goals, our dreams, our happiness, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Going on a date, getting a girl to go on a date with you, whatever it is, versus emotions.
Unchecked
emotions.
Right.
Yeah, because, yes, which we'll talk more about that. But so thinking energy, this makes sense, right? So when thinking energy is high, individuals tend to be more alert, focused, and able to sustain attention on tasks. When thinking energy is low or depleted, cognitive processes can be compromised.
Yeah, for sure.
The age-old argument, we've brought this up before, when you get home and your spouse is like, where do you want to eat? And you're like, I literally cannot make another decision.
Yeah, I'm tapped out.
I'm done.
No more decision making today.
Yeah, and there's studies that I've read before where our brains only have so much capacity within a day, energy to make decisions.
Yeah.
So once you're done with that capacity, you're so tired, you almost get to the point to where you literally cannot make a decision. Or if you do, it's just not going to be that great of a decision.
Yeah. Have you ever been so tired you like literally can't decide whether you want to do laundry or like vacuum the floor? You're just like, you know what? I'm just going to lay here. I can't make any.
I can't.
Can't make any decisions.
I can't. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So fatigue, multitasking, or overwhelming demands can deplete thinking energy and lead to decreased cognitive performance. Duh.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty obvious. I think the whole point of this is, it's not that this is mind-blowing information. It's just how much are we actually thinking about it?
Yeah.
Or how much are we actually, how much is it on our brains throughout the day? Like,
Yeah, are we being introspective?
are we being introspective? Are we bringing the subconscious and, shining some light on it?
Yeah. Yeah, like,
Shit like that.
I mean, if someone cuts you off and you want to murder them, are you asking yourself why?
That's normal.
If a certain personality type just walks up to you and says something not really super mean, but
Yeah.
just not polite,
Yeah.
and you can't stand that person, why? So it's just really thinking about what emotions, and I love the way you said it, unchecked emotions.
Right.
Because as we talk about this next piece, thinking energy is the energy required for us to think. And so for this podcast, what are we thinking about? Well, we're thinking about the goals we want to accomplish and what we need to do today to accomplish those goals, right? And even as we look at, something as simple as, I'm at work, I've got to knock out about 3 or 4 things and then I'm done for the day. Well, how can you position yourself to knock those things out by 3 o'clock?
Yeah.
Now, if you're self-employed, you can just stop working. If you work at a job, you got to kind of act like you're doing something till 5. But
Yeah.
if you're in that kind of environment.
Which, yeah.
But then even if you're done till 2, you can, work on
around.
shit that you want to do.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the goal here. And then for today, we really want to talk about this concept of how much emotions really pull from that thinking energy.
Totally.
So emotions can have both positive and negative effects on cognitive functioning and the allocation of thinking energy. So we got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got about 6 bullets to really break down how emotions
Yeah.
pull from thinking energy.
I think it's pretty obvious negative emotions reduce your energy, but how often are we telling ourselves, you know what, I want to increase my thinking energy with positive emotions?
Yeah.
Like making it a deliberate effort.
Yes. Do you feel just more focused and alert and happy when you're with your friends and y'all gut laugh to where you cry and your stomach hurts?
Yeah, I think there's studies on that.
Yeah. Do you feel more refreshed after that versus getting in some heated, dramatic battle
Yeah.
with someone where they're tearing you down? Like, I mean, these are extremes, so it's pretty obvious. But if we just think across that spectrum, what are we doing and what positions are we putting ourselves in to where we're allowing those emotions to brighten us up?
Yeah, it should make you think about all the people you spend your time with.
Yeah, big time.
Big time.
So what do we got
All right,
first,
let's
bro?
hit these real quick. Attentional focus. So emotions can influence the allocation of attention, diverting cognitive resources towards the emotion-inducing stimuli or thoughts. For example, when experiencing strong emotions such as anger or fear, attention may become more focused on the source of those emotions. Obvious example, COVID.
Yeah.
For people who got into the fear mongering.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fear porn.
A lot,
Especially
especially when they have like a ticker with the deaths. It's like a slot machine. Ding, 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 ding. A lot of fear porn.
Well, and I don't watch the news
I don't
ever
either.
and haven't for a long time.
Same.
But like if I go to the airport
Yeah.
and there's TVs everywhere, and of course they always have CNN on in Atlanta, I guess, because CNN's based out of Atlanta. But but it's just, you've got the person talking, which is fear porn. And then you've got like all these titles going across the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, it's
that's more fear porn.
10 wildfires, ripped through houses, 20 people dead, 6 people murdered, 12 people captured, like.
And then you got the stock market
Yeah.
down on the right.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's a fear porn fiesta.
yeah, it really is. You're sitting there like about to go on a plane.
Yeah.
And you've got the story that's fear, the headlines that are fear, and the stock market and the economy that's fear, just all going at the same time.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah, no, it's like it's a fear porn fiesta, man. That's not the party I'm hopping in.
No, not at all. So
right.
next we have cognitive load. So intense or prolonged emotional states can increase cognitive load, requiring more mental effort and resources to manage and process these emotions.
Yeah.
So it's two components here if we look at this. And what's cool is we'll break this down when we talk about, as a baby, how we develop emotions functionally in our brain. But this concept of cognitive load, right? So if you think about working on a computer, if you're a Mac guy, the spinning ball of death,
Yeah.
right? The blue screen, if you're old school, Microsoft.
Yeah.
But when the computer just gets so overwhelmed, it just stops. It just spins, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we think about, there's the emotion itself, but then there's also energy required to determine how we are going to process that emotion. So someone does something, I am angry. First, there's the emotion of being angry, but then there's all of the thinking energy required to understand, what am I going to do with this anger?
Yeah.
Right? If you're sitting there telling yourself, I'm not going to punch this dude in the face, I'm not going to punch this dude in the face while you're at work, that requires a significant amount of energy.
Yeah. Telling yourself all the things you're not going to do throughout the day. Yeah.
I'm not going to jump off this.
Well, and it's just intense, prolonged emotional states. Obviously, that's going to
Yeah.
take a massive toll,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
when you're angry for days.
weeks, months, years, like whatever, the fear porn. You're
Yeah.
just constantly in the fight or flight state.
The three weeks
Or
of,
you're in a relationship that whatever.
yeah, every time you go home.
Yeah, you never feel safe.
Yeah, never feel safe. That's a big one.
That's a big one.
So what, COVID was shut down for a week, 2 weeks, and then it was 2 years. So just that prolonged, and everyone saying constantly that we're all going to die. So, I mean, you think about the toll that requires,
Yeah.
the thinking energy that requires.
Luckily not for me, but
Yeah,
different story.
different story.
Okay, next we've got interference with working memory. Emotions can interfere with working memory, which is responsible for temporarily storing and manipulating information.
Yeah,
It's the computer analogy is perfect. You've used up a lot of the CPU,
yeah,
and you just can't do more. You can't do more shit.
yeah.
You can't stack on more tasks.
Yeah. Well, it's like this for the working memory, because you've got long-term memory and you've got short-term memory. You got this working memory. So
The RAM.
This is like, what do I need to know right now? Like, the analogy I love on this is a sales presentation. So you got a sales meeting coming up, and you know a lot of the information, but you're stacking that working memory with more relevant information in the context of this client, right? So you're going over the pres, I got to remember this stat. I got to make sure I understand this benefit of this product. I got to know this about the client. You're doing all that kind of stuff. And then the way emotions work is, imagine you're in an environment where your manager comes in, you've been practicing, you've been rehearsing the sales pitch, and your manager's like, hey, I want to go over it, and I'll give you some feedback. And then you present it to the manager, and the manager's like, this fucking sucks.
I love these extreme examples.
It's happened. It's happened before.
Oh, for sure it's happened.
So to me,
Yeah.
So in that moment, all of a sudden the fear of, I'm not good, I'm going to screw this up, should I even be doing this? Am I capable? All this kind of stuff starts consuming.
Yeah.
And all that does is pull away from your thinking energy, which is what you need to have a great sales presentation.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting how this kind of stuff happens every single day.
For sure. Yeah, I have some thoughts of when I worked with a bunch of Russians, and one guy in particular was intense.
Yeah.
you know? And it's just like, once he starts like going off,
Yeah.
it's really hard to focus, obviously.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now I got to go talk to people and act like normal.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah. And the working memory, like you almost forget.
you almost forget. Exactly.
You forget what's on your head because all you can think about is like,
Exactly. It overrides.
it overrides. Yeah. That's a
You
good way
know,
to
each
put it.
shit that, was basically second nature for you.
Yeah.
Now you're like, you're stumbling and you're forgetting because it goes straight to the front.
Yeah, man, that's a good point. If you've been like in a work argument or something like that, to where you're just fumbling, you feel like you're trying to argue, and that person is just dominating, right? They're just domineering over you, and you're just like you can't even talk. You're just like, and
Yeah.
you're trying to remember for your case in the argument, you're trying to remember a specific thing,
Yeah.
What did I ever do to you? Well, you remember, and then you just start forgetting because you're just so overwhelmed and
Totally.
flustered. I think another totally different example of this is you're on a date, you're walking downtown, and you're happy,
Yeah.
you're like in that foreplay, so you're like a little horny, you know what I mean? Like you got a hot date, you're super stoked, and you're just in the moment. And then you may walk by someone that's having some traumatic mental health issues right there on the side of the road, and they're screaming,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden
It takes you out of it.
it takes you out of it, and you're thinking about, okay, what's the scenario? What if I have to defend myself, defend my partner? And you get nervous and you get anxious and you start thinking through all these scenarios. You know what you're not thinking about in that moment? That
Yeah,
you switch from like, am I going to get laid tonight? This works for married people too. Am I going to get laid tonight, or to like,
or am I going to stab?
am I going to get stabbed? Which is, it just overrides that shit. Anyway, it's funny. All right, what do we got next?
Yeah, emotional regulation. The effort required to regulate and manage emotions can consume thinking energy. Engaging in strategies to regulate emotions, such as reappraisal or suppression, may require cognitive resources and impact cognitive performance in other domains.
Boom.
Yeah, so same thing.
Yeah.
It overrides. It's just funny. I've been part of this.
Yeah.
I think most people who have worked have at least been around someone who's an asshole,
Yeah.
and they say something, and then you can't focus, and now you've got to regulate, and that just takes energy.
Yeah. Takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Two more to go. Emotional influence on decision making. So emotions can significantly influence decision making processes. Research suggests that emotions can bias judgment and decision making, potentially leading to suboptimal choices.
Right. You made the best choice you could in the moment.
But it may have not been the most optimal choice.
It may not have been the most optimal because of your state of mind.
Yeah, I wonder how many people end up in jail and they're like, that was suboptimal.
That was.
That decision I made was suboptimal.
You mean like the people you see, like the dash cams in Florida where they get road rage and start pulling out
Yes.
guns and shooting at each other?
Yeah.
And then you're in jail and you're like, well, that was worth it. This is an optimal choice.
I could just imagine going to a judge and just being like, man, my emotional influence on decision making really affected me and I made a suboptimal decision. I'm sorry, judge.
And be like, well, don't do it again. But no, for real.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right?
I mean, like I've seen the videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
Just because you have road rage, pulling out a gun and shooting through your windshield at someone on the highway does not lead to is not an optimal choice.
No.
Like,
No.
is it ever worth it
Yeah.
when you end up in jail?
No.
Unless you're defending your family
Yeah.
and you live in some bullshit state where you can't defend your family,
Yeah.
and someone breaks into the house and you have to do something. Outside of those scenarios.
Well, and here's some everyday scenarios, right? You watch the news or fear scroll, which spikes, the
Yeah.
fear in the brain. And then your anxiety goes up, which also affects your glucose. And then all of a sudden you're craving a candy bar and you're like, well, the world's going to end, so I'm just going to eat a fucking
Yeah,
candy
then
bar.
you're on the blood sugar roller coaster
on the
and
blood sugar roller
everything's
coaster.
bullshit and everyone's going to die. And
Yeah.
you're like, what's the point?
Yeah, so it's as little as fear spikes, messes with the chemistry of the body.
And it's as big as vehicular homicide.
Yeah. Yes. Suboptimal. That's more than suboptimal.
Yeah. All right, let's hit this last one.
Emotional enhancement of thinking. So everything we just covered obviously were the negative side, but this is the positive. So while emotions can sometimes consume thinking energy, they can also enhance certain cognitive processes. Positive emotions such as joy or enthusiasm have been linked to increased creativity, flexibility, problem solving ability. So here's my example that I love for this bullet. You're going to have a strategy session. You got your management team, whatever. And the boss comes in and he starts the meeting with, our numbers are down. All of you, y'all fucked up.
You're
and
worthless.
We got to figure this out. And then it's like
Sucks the energy right out of the room.
right out of the room. And then you got all this fear and, all this weird stuff going on.
How are you supposed to be creative?
Yeah, you can. So the opposite scenario is a boss comes in and says, hey, every problem's a leadership problem. So I'm going to take full responsibility of the numbers. And I brought y'all here today because I believe everyone in this room has the skill sets and the experience to help us hit our numbers. And I just wanted us to take a breath and take a little bit of time away from our busy day and think through some options and some scenarios for us to help get back on track with our numbers.
And boom, now it's fun to come up with ideas.
Everyone feels respected, appreciated, and they feel invested.
Totally.
All that because the way the boss started the meeting.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's probably why over 80% of people quit.
Yeah, most definitely.
Because of their boss.
Yeah.
So out of all the reasons, it's higher than money. I was talking about this to someone yesterday. More than money, people quit or stay at a company because of their direct report, which makes sense.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
That's why if you own a business with multiple employees, you have to be very particular with management.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who determine how long people stay.
Exactly. Yep. Fire that person if they're a shitty manager. Okay. So real quick, we'll hit this and then we'll get to how we process emotions as adults. But one thing that I thought was pretty interesting is how do we don't come out of the womb. We're not birthed into this world and we step out and we know how to process emotions, right? This develops over time. So some quick bullets here in how we evolve in our emotional development from babies to adults. So emotional modeling through mirror neurons. So as an infant, the way we process emotions is we just mirror them. This is pretty cool. So learn about emotions by observing and imitating their parents or their caregivers. That's how infants experience emotions, is literally their brain doesn't have the capacity to understand what joy or fear is.
Yeah.
They just mirror what their parents are experiencing.
Totally. Yeah. Next one, emotional contagion. Babies can catch the emotion they observe in others. They may become more likely to experience positive emotions themselves.
Yeah. So it switches or it evolves from just straight up modeling. You are happy, I am happy. They don't really know what happy is, to start to feel these positive emotions, right?
Yeah.
Oh, happy feels good. I like this feeling. And then that goes to social referencing. So as a child, when they first come out, their parents is their world. But as they start to grow in social referencing, they start to rely on social referencing to understand ambiguous and uncertain situations. They look to their parents or caregivers for cues on how to respond emotionally to unfamiliar people. So this is pretty cool. For the first, weeks, months of an infant's life.
Yeah, they don't give us timestamps like that.
Yeah, well, they're looking at cues from their parents, and then as they evolve emotionally and they start
to feel it.
Interacting with the world, they look when they see a stranger, and their brain's like, I don't know what that is or who that is. They look at their parents to see how their parents are responding to that person or that situation.
Totally.
And that helps them understand how to process and regulate emotions in a social environment.
Yeah. So there's social referencing. Next, emotional regulation. Babies also learn about emotional regulation through emotional modeling. Fuck, that's a lot of emotion. Let me hit that one again. I feel like that's a lot of...
Yeah.
Okay, so that was social referencing. Now we've got emotional regulation. So babies learn through emotional modeling. When caregivers consistently provide comfort and soothing in response to a baby's distress, the baby begins to learn how to self-soothe and regulate their own emotions. Okay, so they're learning pretty quick,
Yeah.
but you have to teach them.
This is where it starts. Learning how to regulate their own emotions.
That's amazing. So it's supposed to start when you're a baby, but I think we've met people who were unable to regulate their emotions as adults.
Well, we're going to find out at the end what percentage of leaders have the ability to regulate their emotions. So last on the list of emotional development is emotional responsiveness. So when parents consistently respond to their baby's emotions with sensitivity and empathy, it helps the baby feel understood, validated, and secure. This in turn contributes to the development of healthy emotional regulation skills. So over time, we start to develop these patterns, right? So how am I going to respond to certain situations? If when I am hungry and I cry and my caregiver comes to me and says, "Oh my gosh, are you hungry? Let me feed you," right?
Yeah.
And they show empathy. Then I start to learn that when someone or myself needs something, I'm going to respond in that way. If every time I'm hungry or I shit my parents are annoyed,
Yeah. Then when anyone wants anything from you, you might be annoyed.
you're annoyed, right? So this is how, as it evolves and as these patterns happen in the world around us, we start to establish how we are going to respond to emotions based on how our caregivers in the world around us responded to our emotions.
I think this is where the term breaking generational trauma starts.
Yes, 100%.
Because when it just gets passed down for generations, and finally someone says, fuck this,
Yeah.
and you have to do the work, you have to unlearn it,
Yeah.
and then you have to completely
Rebuild.
change in the next generation.
Yeah. So, did you ever take a class in elementary school or middle school on how to process emotions?
No.
So, which is true for many of us. Like, we never were taught or learned how to process emotions, how to build those skills. And
Yeah.
what this is coined for adults now, the phrase is emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
So, just like intellectual intelligence, this is emotional intelligence. How intelligent are you when it comes to your emotions, other people's emotions, and managing the social environment of emotions, right?
Yeah.
That's called emotional intelligence. Now, here's the silver bullet that we talked about
Ooh.
at the beginning of the episode.
What is it?
If we are able to control and process our emotions, it leads to some pretty positive outcomes.
Makes sense.
It does.
If you have high emotional intelligence, you are most likely easier to be around than people who have absolutely no emotional intelligence.
Yes. And I mean, if we think about this practically, if you work 40 hours a week, but you spend 60% of that time manifesting and thinking about and over obsessing about someone that you hate, you're literally as half productive as someone who regulates those emotions and they can focus on what needs to be done and they work and get it done for 40 hours.
Yeah.
You're literally double, what's the word? Autopod's going to cut this out. Yeah, productive. You're 2 times productive.
Twice?
You're twice productive.
Twice as productive?
You're twice as productive. So anyway, a couple of these bullets. So emotional intelligence consists of self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and relationship management. So when someone has high emotional intelligence, it leads to what, bro?
Higher earnings.
That's right.
Yeah. Looks like on average, people with higher EQ earn roughly $29K per year more.
Nice. So you want a little salary bump?
Work on that emotional intelligence.
Work on that emotional intelligence. So out of 34 essential work skills, emotional intelligence was found to be the strongest predictor of performance, explaining a full 58% of success in all types of jobs. So across all industries, jobs, whatever.
I think this was also in the empathy or what's the word? Compassion.
Compassion.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we talked about very similar things in the compassion episode
Yeah.
because compassion takes high emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And obviously no one wants to work with a asshole.
Yeah. I don't. So what's interesting is though this increases your likelihood of success, you will make more money. You'll spend less time being angry and frustrated. You'll be happier. Only, according to this study, only 22% of 150,000 leaders have strong emotional intelligence.
Yeah, I wonder if we could get where they were doing these stats.
I have it in my notes somewhere, so I'll.
Like at what industries?
Yeah,
Or if it was just whatever,
across the board.
across the board.
But I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of the question is for anyone listening, how much are you reflecting on your emotions and how they're affecting your focus, right? Like, when's the last time
You sat down.
down and said, I'm going to reflect on how my emotions are affecting my focus, good or bad. And I'm going to be proactive in positive emotions and distributing positive emotions to people around me and rejecting negative emotions.
Yeah.
So,
There's like, I can keep hanging out with the guys at the bar who complain about everything and are miserable as fuck.
yeah.
Or I can hang out with the people who go on hikes,
And get to the top and just take a breath.
get to the top and whatever.
They got the big water jug.
Yeah. Eat a snack.
Their social credit is based on the size of their water jug. They do weird stretches at the top. And the first time you go with them, you think they're weird. But then after going with them 10 times, you realize that you feel so much better in your life.
Yeah, exactly. And all of a sudden you're like watching hawks and
Yeah. Yeah, you went from watching the news
you went
in a
from
bar.
watching the Hawks game in the bar to watching real hawks on top of the mountain
Oh, man. God, that sounds like an upgrade.
because we live near Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So yeah, bro, that's it. Emotions, thinking, energy, and focus.
yeah, I think really at the end of the day, it's trying to bring all the subconscious, what you can, make it conscious.
Yeah.
What's everything that's happening in the background that you're just letting it happen,
Yeah.
and why, and just ask why.
Yeah.
Ask why about everything.
And
Question everything.
question everything. And you know, if when you go home for Thanksgiving dinner, your mom is freaking out and like she makes food for everyone, but she's so stressed.
And just say,
And
let's
just-
fucking order food next year.
She's just freaking out, just angry. Everything has to be perfect. Everyone has to sit at the table, but no one's happy. Then you can say, this is how I learned to process emotions. So
Don't you love that?
So how is
Don't
this
you-
affecting me now?
Don't you love that, like, everything has to be perfect, but in reality, everyone's miserable?
Yeah.
That's the opposite of perfection.
That's the opposite.
Perfection is, and everyone wants to be with each other.
Yeah.
Not when the fucking table's perfectly set up and we can't start eating till, blah, blah, blah gets here and they're late. Everyone has to wait 3 hours.
Yeah. I don't understand that. It's the opposite of perfect.
Like,
It makes no sense.
hey, let's make it so perfect everyone's miserable. It's just fucking wild. That doesn't even make any sense.
It's very weird. It's very strange.
But
I think the person is controlling, and they want to control the situation.
they want to control something because they probably feel like they have no control anywhere else.
Yeah. So they're gonna control the fuck out of this Thanksgiving dinner. the holiday of Thanksgiving. Everyone will thank me for how hard I controlled this fucking dinner.
Hey, let's. Oh my gosh, the miserable Thanksgiving. It's crazy, man.
So our parents are very different in that regard, right?
Yeah.
Like if we have a full meal family over, it's like and I'm famous for this. First of all, every house I walk into, I check the fridge.
I do it too.
Every
I've been known as the fridge.
Yes, got to check the fridge.
Yeah.
And it's not that I want something to eat. You just need to know what's in the fridge.
It's just a weird thing.
It's a weird thing. Got to check the fridge.
Yeah.
And then number 2, I eat food when it's hot. Period.
Yeah.
If I'm at an event, someone's grilling, you can't wait 30 minutes to eat that burger.
Yeah.
That is a waste. Who wants a cold ass, dried out burger?
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
So
why are you cooking 45 burgers and making everyone wait until they're all cold? Just have everyone eat when they're done, or like one at a time.
Yeah, and what's great is I don't care what everyone else does. When that burger's off the grill, I put it on a bun and I eat it.
Damn right, son.
You damn right.
Welcome to America.
If I go to someone else's house, I open up the fridge. If they got a beer, I'm going to grab it.
That's how you assert dominance.
Yeah. They're on the back deck cooking. They don't even know I'm there yet. By the time I get to the back deck, I'm drinking their beer.
And you say thanks.
And then by the
Thanks
time
for the beer.
Thanks for the
you
beer.
say, hey, can I have one as you take a sip?
Hey, man. Thanks for the beer. And then the second that hamburger comes off and they put it on the plate, I just go and grab one, put it on a bun, start eating it.
I like that, bro.
Yeah. But you know what?
What's that?
People know where I stand. And I'm happy.
Yeah, we try not to be too stiff in our family.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the thing. When I'm at someone else's house, I'm happy.
Yeah.
The person hosting doesn't have to worry if I'm taken care of or not.
That's
Because
great.
I will take care of myself.
You are releasing the burden of them having to worry about
My
state. Yeah.
So I make the job easier for the host.
That's great. We should all be actively doing that all the time.
Oh, anyway. All right, cool.
All right.
Let's roll.
Thank you for listening to the Focus Cast. Go to youtube.com/thefocuscast and slap that subscribe button. Head to thefocuscast.com to share what you want to hear next. Go forth and be focused as boy.